Hello friends, welcome back to my kitchen. My name is Kat, and if you're new here, we've been baking our way through Some of My Best Friends Are Cookies by Amelia Jackson. Our next recipe in the book is rhubarb lattice pie biscuits or cookies. And I went to 3 supermarkets this morning looking for the rhubarb jam that the recipe calls for, and I couldn't get any. So I am going to make some today so that when we make our biscuits next week, we'll have the jam available. Excuse my dishwasher, my kitchen is an absolute mess. I've just finished making the cookie masu biscuits and I've just got dishes everywhere. So first up, we need rhubarb. And I have washed this rhubarb and we're just going to chop it into pieces. All right, so I've got 794 grams of rhubarb, and that means I need 794 grams of sugar. And I've got 1 lemon that I'm going to slice. It's a fairly small lemon, so I'm going to use the whole thing, even though I should only be using 3/4 or so. I don't think it's going to make any difference. So I'm just going to start by tossing this rhubarb through the sugar just to get some sugar on all of the pieces. And then we're just going to layer the rhubarb and the sugar and the lemon in my container. I think I need a bigger container. So this is what we've got. And now we're just going to cover this and stick it in the fridge until we are ready to make our jam. It needs to be in the fridge for at least overnight. It can really go for a week. I've had it up to a week before without any problems. It's going to get nice and syrupy, and the sugar is really going to mix with the lemon juice and the rhubarb juice, and it's going to be delicious. So I will see you back in probably 2 or 3 days when we turn this into jam. So here you see it has got very syrupy in here, which is what we want. And I'm just going to now pick out all bar 2 of the lemon slices. And the lemon slices that I leave in, I'm not super worried about the seeds or anything in them because the seeds have really good pectin, and that will help my jam set up. But I am going to count how many seeds I'm leaving in because I want to make sure that I have them all at the end. So this slice has 4 seeds in it, and this slice has 2 seeds in it. So I need to make sure that I've got 6 seeds when I finish my jam. And then all of this rhubarb sugar mixture, I'm just going to pour it into my pot. I'm going to make sure I get all of this sugar. And now we're going to put this on the stove and bring it to a boil. So the process for canning jam to make it shelf stable is pretty straightforward. If you're not familiar with the process, you need to have clean, hot jars with preferably a 2-part lid. Here in Australia, they're not as easy to come by, so we do often use the lug lids with the pop tops or reuse jam jars. That's not the recommended method, but you use what you've got. So our jam got to 104 degrees, which is the temperature that we want it to be at so that it will set. You can use the plate in the freezer method. If you put a blob of jam onto the cold plate and it sets up within a few seconds, then you know your jam is ready to jar. Once you've put your jam into your jars, you fill it up so that it is only about a 1/4 inch from the top of the jar. You put on a nice clean lid after you have wiped the rims of the jars. You can use a bit of paper towel with hot water, or if it's something very greasy, you can use a bit of vinegar. Once your lids are onto your nice clean rims, you put on a ring and tighten up your jar to be fingertip tight. Then you need to boil a pot of water. I always put something in the bottom of my pot. You can use a rag. I have a silicone pot stand that's perforated, which is perfect. Stick that in the bottom of the pot. Heat up the water to almost boiling. Then you need to put your jars into the water and make sure that they are covered by at least a couple of centimeters of the hot water. You need to let your pot come back up to the boil, and then you need to boil the jars for 5 to 10 minutes, depending upon your jar size and the recipe. I'm only using small jars, and for my elevation, I only need to boil them for 5 minutes. However, if you boil them for 10 minutes or more, you don't have to worry about sterilizing your jars beforehand. So what I usually do is I boil my jams for 10 minutes, even though that is longer than I need to boil them. Once your 10-minute timer has gone off, turn off the heat, remove the lid, let the jars sit in the water for a couple of minutes while they cool down, then remove them from the water onto a cloth and let them sit until they are completely cooled down. Once your jars are cold, you want to remove the rings from the jars for storage, just in case your jar becomes unsealed. You don't want a false seal, and it's always a good idea to label your jars so that you know what's in them when you get back to them. So my jams are looking really good. They've cooled. I have written on them what they are. My headspace is a little low, but because I'm going to be using these to make the biscuits very soon, I don't think that's really going to matter. But you can see it looks really good. It's not quite completely set. It will continue to set over time. But we'll be opening up one of these jars to make the rhubarb lettuce biscuits next time. Thanks for being here with me as we made this rhubarb jam. If you would like, I'll pop another video here that you can enjoy between now and my next upload. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. I can't wait to see you next time. Bye for now.